Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
It's been a year since India conducted the retaliatory airstrikes in Pakistan's Balakot, and in fact, it may well have changed the paradigm of how India responds to terror attacks. Balakot also became a rallying point in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, through which the BJP did manage to reap electoral benefits as well. But what happened then and what has changed in this year is what we are going to look at in this episode of Government Matters. In the studio, I have Snehesh Alex Philip, who tracks defense for ThePrint. Snehesh, I know you're doing a series of stories on what happened then and what has transpired since, but to begin with, what happened?
Well, Rui, what happened then is the fact that India, for the first time since the 1971 war, carried out an aerial attack and targeting not just Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
Right.
They were targeting a Jaish-e-Mohammed training center in Balakot, which is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. So this was the first time that India was using the its aerial power to hit out at a terror camp outside POK. So
right.
that was a big development that took place.
So, Snehesh, that was a sudden development. Of course, in the course of the year, information has unraveled. Are there lesser known facts that are clearer now that one perhaps didn't know a year ago about what happened on the 26th of February?
Well, absolutely. There are a lot of information that has actually come out. And, ThePrint at last year had carried a series of stories on the Balakot strike. Interestingly, for the anniversary, I was working out on stories and, I happened to interview, Air Marshal Hari Kumar. Now, Air Marshal Hari Kumar was the Western Air Commander during the Balakot strike. He was about to retire on the month end, that is February 2019. And then he was the person who actually planned and executed the Balakot operation. So we've carried a story, interview with him on the ThePrint's website. Do log in and read it. And he brings out some certain new elements. For example, many, including me, was of the impression that it was actually 6 Mirage 2000 aircraft that had flown into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But now it has been revealed that it was actually not 6, but a strike package of 16 Mirage 2000 aircraft. 6 of them who were armed with the Spice 2000 bombs, and 6 of them who were armed with with a missile called the Crystal Maze. And there were 4 other Mirage 2000s that were, armed with the Mika IR and, the RF, that is the air-to-air missile, to provide escort duty. So it was a large package, right, which actually moved into Pakistan.
So, Snehesh, we know this was in response or in retaliation to the 14th February Pulwama terror attack. Can you tell us something about what happened between the 14th of February and the 26th of February? How was this planned? What kind of execution was envisaged?
Well, this is on the 14th of February around 3:15 or 3:45 is when when a terrorist in Pulwama rammed his explosive-laden vehicle into a CRPF convoy, killing 40 people. It is around 6 p.m. the same day on the 14th of February is when the IAF chief, that is Air Chief Marshal Dhanua, called up Air Marshal Hari Kumar and asked him, "Are you ready?" And the Air Marshal Hari Kumar was already aware, he was expecting this particular call, and he said he is. And so, both discussed and both wanted to discuss the plan, the way ahead. And Hari Kumar asked the Air Force Chief to come over to the Western Air Command, which is situated near the cantonment. The next day, that is the 16th morning, there was a CCS, that is a Cabinet Committee on Security, that was called by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So before the CCS, the Air Marshal Dhanua drove down to the Western Air Command, met with Mr. Hari Kumar, with Air Marshal Hari Kumar and one more officer at the ops room of the Western Air Command, where there were discussions that took place, where some options were talked and discussed. At the CCS, that is the Cabinet Committee on the CCS meeting, a decision was taken by the government that they will have to hit back. Remember that it was not just that it was not just the attack that alone mattered, but also the fact that there was the Lok Sabha elections coming up. And this was a huge setback to the Narendra Modi government, the killing of 40 CRPF personnel. It was
had already done the 2016 surgical strike, so there
Yes.
was a certain level of expectation.
So there was a certain level of expectation. The government at that time decided that they have to move ahead. Then there was on the 18th is when there was a meeting that was called in by the NSA, that is the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. This meeting was attended by the three service chiefs, that is the Chief of the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Along with them was the then the RAW chief, and one more person who was at that time in charge of the operations in RAW. And that person was Samant Goyal, who now heads the R&AW, that is the Research and Analysis Wing. So it was at this meeting is when multiple targets were discussed, and then there was hard intel that came about the Balakot camp. So this was something that was put forward by the RAW. Now there's a reason why they choose the Balakot camp. For example, when the 14th Pulwama attack happened, Pakistan had gone ahead and pulled back the terrorists from the launch pads and the terror camps along the LC, that is in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They were pulled back. So this is primarily because Pakistan was expecting another 2016 surgical strike operations. The Pakistan army had gone on complete alert. They were expecting another retaliation on the ground. The reason why Balakot camp was chosen was because there was intelligence input which said that a large number of terrorists have moved from the launch pads and the terror camps to various centers, including this particular Balakot camp. Now, Balakot camp, it's in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. It is there on top it's on a hill, and there are no civilian population around. So which means that there was no collateral damage that would be there. The other thing was that this was not a madrasa. So the fear was that if it's a madrasa, if an attack is carried out in a madrasa, not just of the religious factor, but also because there would be children in the thing. So again, they would be part of the collateral damage. So the idea was to hit the terrorists themselves. So hence Balakot camp was chosen. So it was on the 18th that the Balakot camp was chosen. Western Air Commander, that is the Air Marshal Hari Kumar, along with the Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal Dhanua, along with two other officers, did the initial planning of the operation. So the target was given on the 18th, and then for the next
1 week or so,
less than 1 week, the initial planning took place, and then more people were involved, and this particular strike was carried out.
Now, what happened in Balakot? Because we've not ever got any official figures about the casualties, etc. Of course, as you mentioned, it was election season, and it was a free-flowing, free-for-all sort of conversation when there were politicians talking about 350, 400, all kinds of numbers of casualties. But do we have any estimate at all?
Well, that's a very interesting question. As far as, as you rightly said, it was an election season and it was free for all as far as numbers were concerned. So there were, numbers which came up instantly, the moment of the Balakot strike happened. There were numbers which came out from which ranged from 60 to 80 to 300, and it's well, I find it quite funny that people were expecting the pilots, the Air Force, to know the casualty, for the pilots to fire, then land, and then count the dead bodies. But however, there was a human end that was there, which had given information of the fact that there were a large number of terrorists who had assembled at this particular camp. There was also the NTRO, that is a technical intelligence agency of the Indian government, which had picked up certain cell phone signatures. So yes, a strike did take place. However, I've not really gone into the figures as such, because there are no hard proof as far as figures are concerned. But remember that the Balakot strike, as someone very senior in the government once said, you might doubt the figures that have been given out not by the military or by the intelligence guys, but it was actually figures that was given out by the politicians. So while one can get into the whole debate of whether how many people were killed, whether it was a success or not, the fact is that the big thing was that there was a messaging that had to be done, and so the military bosses in Pakistan know what has happened. They know the casualties that have taken place. So the messaging is complete.
So, Snesh, I want to be a little forward looking at this point, but very quickly before that, 26th February happened and then 27th February happened. What happened that day? What went wrong?
Well, 27th, you know, Rui, I'll be selfish here. I will not talk about the 27th much because there are certain stories that are planned for
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So you can log on
So
to our website
to log on to our
read
website,
those
ThePrint, and to read
Just
those
give us a
stories.
gist of
Well, the gist of it was that there was on the 26th, the Indian Air Force carried out the Balakot strikes. On the 27th, there was a package of over 20 Pakistani fighter jets, which included the Mirage as well as the F-16s, armed with the AMRAAM missiles that was launched. They tried to they fired about 11 odd missiles that was fired at Indian military installations, but none of them were able to hit the targets. There was a brief air a dogfight that took place between the MiGs and the Pakistani fighter package, in which one in the MiG-21 Bison was shot down, which was being flown by Wing Commander Abhinandan Vartaman. But before he got shot, he was able to fire his R-73 air-to-air missile that was there on board the MiG-21 Bison, in which and this is on record. This is what the IAF has said on record, that F-16 fighter aircraft of the Pakistan Air Force was actually shot down. So yes, but so there was a response, an aerial response by Pakistan to the Balakot strike.
Right. Now, Snehesh, a lot has happened in that 1 year since Pakistan closed its airspace, envoys were recalled, etc., etc. And the relationship between India and Pakistan, which has anyway always been tense, has been on a downward spiral because of multiple issues, this plus Kashmir. But would you say the kind of response that India sort of gave to what happened in Pulwama has now changed the pattern of how the Indian establishment, the security establishment, would be expected to respond to future terror attacks?
Well, absolutely, there is no doubt about it. That it was in 2016 when the surgical strikes did take place. Well, one can really get into the debate whether any such operations were held in the past. I'm aware of the fact that 2016 surgical strike was different from any other LOC operations taken that have taken in the past. Is only purely because of the scope of the 2016, which there were multiple targets and multiple teams that went in. However, the real surgical strike is actually the Balakot attack, and now obviously this has set a new standard as far as the India's response is concerned. And the world, even when US President Donald Trump had come to India and questions were asked, and I think he mentioned that they are in talks with Pakistan as far as terror is concerned, and if anything needs to be done, India will get it done. So it's a global message that also gone out.
Right. Snesh, before we close, very quickly, what has changed since then till now?
Well, as I said, the India's response has changed completely. But in terms of if you're asking in terms of military equipment is concerned,
are we better equipped, etc.?
Well, I think one of the biggest, Balakot strike went off really well. For example, the plan was earlier to use the crystal mace missile, but those crystal mace missiles could not be fired on the day of the strike, primarily because at that time the firing protocols did not allow. There are certain parameters that needs to be met, which includes weather conditions. However, though, it was felt that the missiles could still have been fired, but the firing protocols did not allow it to be fired. So the firing protocols have changed. It has also been decided again. Do log on to ThePrint and read the story on the site, which says that the Air Force has now decided that all future Balakot strike operations would have a video feed. So they've changed the firing protocols for crystal maze, which means that the crystal maze would be fired along with the other missile that have been used. And another change that has actually come about is the fact that there were a lot of questions that were raised on Balakot, primarily because the structures, later pictures which came out, the structures looked intact. But remember, it's primarily because people don't understand the different kinds of missiles and bombs that are in play in today's time. So the Spice 2000 is a deep penetration strike, bomb. So it's a penetration bomb. So in the sense that it goes in and it doesn't take down the building. So even though it's a 1,000 kg bomb, the explosive inside is only about 85 kilograms. So when the missile, when the explosion takes place, it's the explosives tearing out from the 900 kg of hardened steel, and this steel becomes the shrapnels which actually kills the people. It also takes away the oxygen in a particular area, which means that it also kills the people. So the IAF has now decided that it would be a combination of penetrating bombs which would actually kill the occupants inside, as well as the regular bombs which actually take down the building, so as to show that something did take place and no questions are asked.
Right. Well, Snehesh, helping us unravel what happened in Balakot, what happened on the 27th of February, its implications, and what has changed a year since then. I'm not going to ask you to log on to ThePrint.in again, because we've done that multiple times through the conversation. But really, if you do want to read his stories both today and tomorrow, you must log on to our website. Thank you so much for watching Government Matters.